I think one of the things that got me on board early on with remote working was that I could be in whatever environment I want to that would allow me to be able to be creative and inspired. So, for instance, like this morning, I saw how great it looked outside and it felt amazing. So, I decided to be a little extra and just come up to the rooftop and just sit up here with my laptop and some music and get inspired for the day. Now, you may not be as extra as me, but you are probably looking for a way to be able to work anywhere in the world. And that's what this video is going to be about today. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And if you're new, welcome to the channel. We are MoonStruck Media, and we talk about travel. And this puppy right here wants to be a part of the video, but we talk about travel. We are a young couple, and we just want to bring everybody on our experience. We had a community to help us learn how to travel, so we definitely want to try to be that community for anybody out there. Which brings me to today's topic, which is all about how we're able to do this, how we're able to be digital nomads. So in past videos, we've definitely got a lot of questions about how we're able to travel, how do we get paid, did we save up a bunch of money? And I'm gonna dive a little bit deeper into that in this video. So first of all, a little bit about us. Yes, we are digital nomads. We both have remote jobs that allow us to live anywhere in the world that we want to. And that is how we make the prime bit of our money. And there is a lot of ways that you can go about that, and I will break that down and show you pretty much all of the options that you could have when it comes to being a digital nomad, and also let you know that it is a little easier than you may think. You just have to do a lot of research and actually know what you want to do. So there are three types of ways that you can go about this. You can work full-time for a company remotely. You can work part-time or as a freelancer, or you can be self-employed, running your own business, but doing it from whatever location you want to be. Now, for us, it's a little bit of a mix, like the lines are kind of blurred. So for instance, for me, I am a videographer, a photographer, a content creator. I kind of fit in very easily with the remote work stuff because I was sort of doing it beforehand. So for instance, I have two main positions right now. I am a video editor for a couple of YouTube channels, and then I also do social media for businesses. Both are things to where I do not physically have to be inside of an office. I could be in California, I could be in Mexico, I could be in Europe. It doesn't really matter as long as I have a good internet connection and am able to communicate with the people who I'm doing services for. My wife, on the other hand, is very different than what she went to school for. So she went to school for nursing and to be in the medical field. Now, while there are jobs that are available remotely for people in the medical field, she wasn't able to find as much as she wanted to whenever we were looking, because it was the height of the big P word that was happening all over the world, and that's still sort of happening. So she had to look other routes, which is okay. And basically, she was able to leverage her talents that she had learned in the medical field into a different job. So for instance, she worked in scheduling and bringing people in. So she was able to take that position and say, okay, I've done this for a medical company. What if I could do it for a school or a business or something else? And I think that's really one of the main first tips, is that you need to learn how to know what skills you have and how to leverage those for pretty much any type of job that you want to do, especially when you're looking for remote jobs, because it's not as cut and dry as looking for a regular in-office job, to where if you want to be a paralegal, you know exactly where to look for a paralegal job. These are remote jobs. They're a little bit more abstract in nature because you're not going to be in the office. You're not going to have to meet with anybody physically. All of the meetings that I have with any of my clients or anybody who I work for has been over Zoom, FaceTime, a phone call. Like, I've never physically seen any of these people. And that's okay. That comes a part of the job, but you just have to make sure you're prepared for that. And so when you're going through your skills list, yes, you may have been at a certain job for X amount of years, but instead of looking at the job you did, look at the skills that you've done. And then you have to rework your resume to highlight those skills for your remote job. Hopefully that's making some sense to you. So let's talk about the first type of job type that you could have, which would be a full-time position for a company. So that could be a company as big as Google or a company as small as a mom and pop shop, but that is you working a full-time job, a certain set of hours a day, typically 9 to 5 or whatever type of hours that company has. I did look into that job whenever we were both looking for remote positions, and coming from that world, that wasn't exactly what I wanted. So that's why I sort of moved into the second and third option that we have. And the second option is working part-time or freelance for a company. And that's where I do the main bulk majority of my work. So I am a video editor for various YouTube channels, and that doesn't really have a 9 to 5 type thing. It's whenever they do the videos, send them to me, I edit them and get them back in a timely manner. So it's really on my own time. So it's literally between part-time and freelance. It's sort of a mix between the both. And with my other position, which would be considered part-time as well too, I do social media posts for companies. Now, I don't have to clock in at 9 a.m. or clock in at a certain amount of time. It's whenever I have the time to fulfill these, and there is a deadline once I take on the projects. So again, that is a mix between part-time and freelance. And I think that's the sweet spot for me. It can be different for you. A lot of people need a very structured work environment, and that's perfectly okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But for me, I know I like to have flexibility and time just based off of the skills that I have. I make all of my money from a computer and from a camera, which are very flexible tools. I like it because I get to be able to choose when I feel creative and choose, boom, that's when I do my work. Or I can not work at a certain time and still be good. So that's what works perfectly for me. Again, it may not work for you, but that's perfectly okay. And then on to the last type of job that you could have is working for yourself, having your own business. I am sort of starting to dabble into that, but I'm not all the way fully in, but I do want to work my way to that. But for instance, if you already have your own established business, whether that be drop shipping or a copywriting business or whatever, you can take that position remotely because you're not location bound. And I think that's the main thing that has been so important, and that's not being location bound to any type of position. So if you have your own business, you get to choose how it's run, how operations are done. All of it is on you. So you can choose whether you want to be in the Bahamas doing it, whether you want to be in Europe, whether you want to be in Mexico. It doesn't particularly matter as long as you are where you want to be. So that is another option. So now that you know the types of jobs that you can get, now it's time to start narrowing it down into what type of field you want to go in. And remember what I said earlier, just because you were in a certain field when you were working an office job does not mean that that is the field that you have to have when you're working remotely. I know a couple of people who went to school for business, but they wanted to travel more, and they're teaching, and they never have certifications to be a teacher. They never wanted to be a teacher, but that is their means of getting money while they travel, and they're perfectly happy with it because it allows them to do what they want to do. So for instance, there are a couple of fields that basically seem like they were tailor-made for remote work. That could be content creation, marketing, copywriting, administrative work. And that's okay because those fields were made for that. You just have to find your skills that fit into whatever you like to do the most. For instance, with me, that was very easy because I went to school for video production and I have a background in social media. So finding those types of jobs were easy for me because I had those verifications and those credits from when I was working in an office 9 to 5 type position. But for my wife, we had to get a little bit creative because even though she did have the skills, we had to basically explain and show why she had the skills, even though on her resume, it shows she worked in a hospital and clinic. But we had to show that she has writing skills, she has communication skills, she has all of the skills needed for this job. Just because you have been in a box in whatever type of position that you have worked, that shouldn't stop you from finding a remote job. If you can't find anything in that field, find something else that you would like to do or wouldn't mind doing, and then see if your skills can be translated to that type of position. You have to just get creative with it. And really, that's what a lot of remote jobs, because many of these remote jobs are different. Like, they're not your regular type of job. So you do have to be creative and think outside of the box to even get the job, which will show your employer that you are ready to work for them. And the good news is that within the last 5 years, there are so many positions that are opening up to being remote, because a lot of business managers and leaders are realizing that, maybe we don't need to leave our offices open from 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, when the work that can be done here can be done anywhere else. And that's saving them money and also giving you more freedom to be wherever you want to be. So businesses are starting to wake up and starting to realize that if the same amount of work can get done, and sometimes in a less amount of time, why are we making people come into an office just so they can sit here and look at us for however many hours a day and still get the same amount of work done? So that is the good thing. And the pandemic did kind of push a lot of businesses that were maybe thinking about it or not too sure about remote work into fully going remote now. So now is the perfect time to jump in and start looking for remote positions. And mind you, me and my wife are 25 years old. We're not very old at all, especially in business years, but we were able to, number one, realize what our skills are, and number two, find a way to monetize our skills to show to different companies and businesses for when we want to work remotely. And that has been the key thing that has helped us find remote positions and be able to find things that we actually like doing, and not just some job that we felt like we had to take. And that's a common misconception as well too. A lot of people who I've talked to who have been my age have thought I'm too young and they're gonna want somebody with more experience to take this type of remote job. And that couldn't be farther from the truth. With all of the companies that I have worked with and have internshipped and have interviewed for, they were looking for younger people because they know younger people are more flexible. They normally aren't starting a family yet, and they're able to be more free with their time and be more flexible with the company. And that's what companies are looking for. So if you're under 30 and if you're thinking I may not be as qualified, you may be more qualified than you think. A lot of these companies are looking for people like you. So you just need to put yourself out there, monetize your skills, and be confident in what you can do for this company and show them that. So now to the meat and potatoes of this video. You want to know where you could find remote positions for, and no worries, I got you. So there are a lot of websites that are able to help you find remote positions, but these are some of the best ones that I have used and that I actually have gotten jobs from. So number one is, of course, Indeed. Everybody knows Indeed. You probably have an Indeed account, but there are a couple of things that you might need to tweak if you're looking for the right remote position. So for instance, you go up to the search bar and you type in the type of job you want. Then you need to go to where it says location, and they actually have a place where you can put remote. So you put remote in there instead of putting Dallas, Texas or California or wherever, and it brings up all remote jobs, all location independent jobs. And of course, Indeed has made it so easy for you to apply to these jobs. You apply to them the exact same way you would apply to a regular 9 to 5 office job. But when you get the job or when you interview, it's all remote. So that has been really helpful. Both of my positions that I'm working right now have actually been through Indeed, even though I have had some success with some of the other ones that I've listed. but Indeed just is still so easy, and it makes everything so easy for you. So Indeed is definitely number one on my list. Number two is Flexjobs. Now, Flexjobs has been really helpful to me as well too. There were a couple of positions that I got back when I was living in the US that I got from Flexjobs. Flexjobs does have a subscription that you have to pay per month. I will put that on the screen to let you know sort of how much that is, but it has been helpful because they put legit jobs on there. You don't have to weed through some of the jobs that aren't really what you're looking for. I have noticed that you have to do that a couple times with Indeed, depending on what you're looking for. But with Flexjobs, it's legitimate jobs that are looking to hire right now. They are all remote jobs. That's the flex part of the jobs, flexible jobs. But they have been super, super helpful, and depending on what you're looking for, you may be able to find it easier on Flexjobs than you are on Indeed. So the next resource that I'm getting ready to mention is gonna sound very out there, but hear me out. And that is TikTok. Now, I know what you're thinking. TikTok is the dancing app. It's the funny app. It's where you go to waste time, which can definitely be true, but it does have a lot of resources on there. And that is because a lot of people who are digital nomads who have been doing remote work for a while, and a lot of companies who are looking to find remote workers are getting on TikTok and putting out information and sharing resources. And that has been super, super helpful for me and my wife. We were actually able to find my wife's position from TikTok, which was amazing, and I never ever would have thought. But we were able to look up things like hashtag remote work, hashtag digital nomad, and we were able to find a whole bunch of videos with just all the information that we would need. And there are so many people on there who are just telling you how this can be done, what websites to use, when to apply. It's so much information, and it was so helpful, and we were able to get a job out of it. So it definitely does work. There's no funny business. I would definitely not rule out TikTok in your search for a remote job. So last point is when you should start looking for a remote job. And the correct answer is now. You obviously picked on this video for a reason. You want to get into the world of remote working. So you should start looking now. For me and my wife, we knew that we wanted to move to Mexico about 7 months before we did. So we moved here in June. We knew back in December that we wanted to move. I started transitioning myself from in-office work, which the pandemic definitely helped with that, to remote work. And I already had both of my positions before we'd even moved down here, and I would highly, highly, highly recommend that. There's so much stress that can be just added on by you being in a whole new country, trying to figure out the culture, figure out the language, and having to look for a job. While that was what my wife had to do, thankfully, we're a team, and I was here and I was able to help carry that load until she was able to find her position. But again, we've seen both sides of the coin. Someone who had a job before they came to the country and someone who got a job after they came to the country. I would definitely recommend doing this before you go to a country, getting the type of job that you want and getting sort of settled into that position before you move, because it would just be so helpful to your mental health and your state of being. So that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Hopefully that was helpful for you. Leave any questions you have about remote work or digital nomad life in the comments below, and me and Precious will definitely get to them. So in the link below, I have put different websites that can help you find remote work, that have job listings, that are companies who are looking for remote workers. So definitely check those out, and hopefully that can be a jumping off point for you. And if this video has been helpful, please consider giving us a like and subscribing, and we'll definitely have more content around this if that's what you guys want. And of course, showing more of Mexico and experiencing Mexico. But we just felt like that this was definitely important to get out, because a lot of people were asking how we were able to do this, especially at such a young age. And it's a lot easier than you think. So y'all be easy, and we'll see you in the next video.